Okay, yeah, it's time to call the meeting to order here. It is 5:01 on Monday, July the 15th, and I'm calling this meeting to order. The BEDC Board reserves the right to reconvene, recess, or realign the regular session or call executive session or order of business at any time prior to the adjournment. So with that, do we have any public comments this evening?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, very good. All right, we'll get right into it then. Going on to item number 3A, the BEDC Board of Directors will hold a budget workshop to discuss the budget for fiscal year 2025. Sylvia?
Good afternoon, Chair. I am getting some information to call and to pull up on the screen what was in your packet. So if you'll just give me 1 second, please.
Just for point of reference, does the new change of what you sent out earlier or after this agenda, did that get put into this agenda, or do we have to bring up the other one?
No, that was for the financials. That's not for the budget. It was just a typo or two, right?
Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to advance the slide, hopefully, to the summary page. I just sent Colin the super detailed page, so I'm just trying to get to the... Colin, will you advance the slide right quick? Yes, but right now I just want the summary page on the slide. Next one. There you go. Okay. So the revenue that is expected to be received is $1.402 million. We have a planned reserve drawdown for Blakey of $800,000, and I will remind the board that $1 million had been put aside and it is in reserve. So it's a planned drawdown. We've already drawn down $200,000 for Blakey for engineering and survey support services. So there's $800,000 to be drawn down. I will say that with a super caveat that all $800,000 of that will probably not be drawn down, and that's because the city has a grant and there are grant protocols that need to be followed. If all things were perfect and going well, it'll be drawn down at the end of the year, during the fiscal year. That leaves total revenue from both operations and then moving from reserve to $2.2 million. We have expenses of $2.1 million, and that leaves a net revenue of $65,442. You'll see in Edie's slide for the financials, we have an estimated reserve at the end of the year at $7.64 million. Assuming the budget goes all as expected, add that $65,442, and it leaves an estimated ending reserve of $7.7 million. So, okay, Colin, you can bring up the super detail now. So the budget is pretty much the budget that we went through when we did the last budget amendment, that we went through line by line to reduce a great amount of expenses. And I'm happy to take any questions from the board on any one of the items. You'll see the corresponding $1.4 million. I did a short summary at the bottom. You'll see the corresponding 1.402. You'll see the reserve drawdown for Blakey, and then you'll see expenses. And just to give you some highlights, we do have interest income of $250,000 that is shown there. We are working with Chair Urbanic to enter into a different finance or investments called Charm that allows us to put larger tranches that would put the money better to work and still FDIC insured. And we have the 20,000 grant receipt from Roscoe Bank. Any questions on revenue before I go into expenses?
Yeah, I'll get to my question later. Go ahead.
Okay. So we go into salaries, longevity, overtime, Social Security. That first tranche is just the stuff that is included on a paycheck. The city is one of a few cities who pays Social Security and TMRS. That's not typical. Oh, Colin, can you scroll up one page? Yes, right there. Right there. So we have Social Security, longevity, overtime, Social Security, and retirement. That salary includes the operations manager, the new bear position, the stipend, and the part-time position that would end up October to December to complete the move out, and then no further funding for that position. We moved through the just the normal operational supplies. We did make significant reductions at our last meeting, and I think we trimmed a little bit more. We left in professional services. I just scroll down. Office rental is reduced greatly because the plan is to move out of the building. Utilities significantly reduced also. That's only that last quarter of the building. Professional services, there's $65,000 in that line item, or was $65,000 in that line item. We've reduced that to $25,000, and the item that you'll see later on today would come out of.
Okay, so I understand that we've got the $25,000, some of the upcoming things that we've been talking about. Why are we reducing it to just that amount? Does that mean we're not going to have any other professional services for all of fiscal year 2025?
No, there's a sports complex study down at the bottom that's an additional $25,000. And if the board chooses to move any money, one-time monies from reserve to do that into the operational budget, we can do it at that time through a budget amendment. I just hate to tie up operational expenses, show us in the negative if we're not sure how much it's going to cost.
Okay, my next question is, last year you are in the requested original from FY24, you had $61,000 for group insurance, and now you've got up to 20. Why such a huge difference?
Number of employees. There's
That's it?
6+ employees
Okay,
in the last budget.
okay.
And the group insurance, I believe this has the reduction, or not yet? Okay. We dodged a bullet on insurance. It was going to be a very high number.
So I have a question, and it's probably because I'm not an accountant, but I understand why the Navis Consulting would be in 5505 as a professional services, but I'm wondering if it would be better for it to be in 5574, because someday someone's going to say, how much money did you spend on the sports complex? And would it be helpful if it was all in one account instead of, well, that didn't include what was in here and that didn't include what was in there? It just seems like it would be cleaner if from the beginning everything involved with the sports complex was in the sports complex line.
Sure.
Just a suggestion.
Super easy. The amount will stay the same. There's $25,000 in that line item.
Yeah, and I saw that, and it makes perfect sense that you would pull out of reserves as you need it, since you don't know. Not only do we not know what the total is, we don't know if it's going to, which fiscal year it's going to hit in, so.
This current fiscal year, the item that's before you, and again, that's just a placeholder. The item that's before you later on in the agenda is a tad under $10,000 that's presented. It was presented in your packet.
Right.
That's her management of the feasibility study. We don't know yet how much the feasibility study would be, but that's in this budget year.
Right. I just think it would be
Clean.
Just in the future, somebody's going to ask, and it's going to be a different group of people, and I think it'll be easier for whoever's doing it if everything associated with the sports complex is in one single line item.
So then we move through, it's titled City Projects and Programs, but that's where the sports complex sits, $25,000, and then the Blakey Lane, that $800,000 shows up there, and that rolls up to the 825. So I will remove Navis Consulting from line 5505. We'll leave that amount there. And then Colin, can you scroll to the next page?
And shared services doubled to make up for co-locating in the office?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought.
We reduced Main Street support. That happened mid-budget year to 25,000. Administrative support stayed pretty much the same. We reduced all of the subsequent line items during your last budget discussion, and those stayed pretty static. We've still got 30,000 in digital advertising and marketing, and then 2,000 in special advertising and marketing. There's an extra $5,000 in workforce development, and that is to go to the Community Action Agency. When they presented here, they had requested that additional $5,000. Retail recruiting, that is retail coach. And that amount's actually going to be reduced to $10,000. That $15,000 line item will be reduced to $10,000 because we're splitting that with the city. So it'll be 10,000 EDC, 10,000 city. Retention and expansion, 75,000. Closing costs in case we have any additional sale in the property. We have not typically expended that line item in its entirety, so we always end up having some things that fall through. Contingency, we reduced to 25,000, and so Chair Spencer, that would be another place where we could draw in case there was any additional expenses. We could move from contingency up to that line item if we needed to draw. Any additional business park improvements, we left at $200,000. I will remind you that the Accutronic dollars are in reserve. They're in CapEx, capital expenditures, in reserve. And 200,000 again is a placeholder in case there's any additional electrical or any additional things the park may need. And then those are the bond principles, and that takes us to 2.137.
If I seem to remember right, I think last time we got together as an executive committee, we were talking about stuff. I believe you mentioned something about economic equity for Bastrop entrepreneurs. You had some program that you were working on or working with, is that correct?
That's true. We're actually doing our fourth 3 of 4 series. Are you sure? It feels like a long time.
I know, it feels like.
We're doing our 3 of 4 series this coming Wednesday at the library.
How many companies have signed up so far?
10 plus every session.
Really? Oh, that's really good. What would that fall under as far as in the budget?
That's going to be workforce development. That could be under education and workforce. Or business development also.
Is that 10 people or 10 companies?
10 people, 10 plus people.
So about how many companies then have shown up out of the 10 people? How many companies were represented, do you know?
Well, it's for small entrepreneurs. It's for people just starting a business. They may or may not have an LLC, or they may not have fully incorporated to have an EIN just yet.
Okay. And when is the next one?
Wednesday at 6 o'clock at the public library.
Okay.
So Wednesday's session is going to, last session covered business plans. We had a SCORE representative there. We had some members of the bank community be flies on the wall. This coming Wednesday will be a dive into finances and business finances, and more members of the banking community will be flies on the wall.
Did we set up, the reason I'm asking this is because I just remember the conversation, but I should have asked more detail. What kind of goals or objectives do we have out of this program?
So I'm hopeful that we have more applicants that apply for the small business loan that can, cross that threshold, because we've only loaned the $1 dollar. Yeah, we've only loaned to Bearded Baker. We've not had any other applications come across. So.
Okay, so you're hoping to generate more interest in that
Yes.
and working with other folks that may need the small loans that we were for small business retention and expansion?
Yes, and my goal really is so that BEDC is a resource.
Right.
So,
Okay.
you know, some days I'm acting as a credit counselor, other days I'm acting as a city manager, it just depends on what the day. But the reality of it is if they call BEDC or they call City Hall or they call whomever, we have a place to give them resource information, we have a place to connect. They're comfortable, they know who Angela is, they know who I am, they know who staff is.
And I guess the last question, where is this being marketed or advertised, so to speak?
It's on Super Socials. It's being posted on the Bastrop Economic Development Facebook page. It's being posted through the HEAL Alliance, who is the speaker, is being bounced and sponsored by the city's Facebook page as well, and the website, both websites.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Yes. So we'll bring the budget back for ultimate approval. This one is, do you have any comments, questions, concerns, red lines, information that you'd like to see, and then we'll bring it back.
Okay, if no other questions, then we'll move on to regular business and presentations. 4A, the approval of meeting minutes from regular BEDC board meeting of June 17, 2024.
Motion to approve.
All those in favor say aye. Oh, I need a second, sorry. We need a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, we're now ready for 4B, receive the financial report for the period ending June 2024.
Hi. You have the June 2024 financial statements. There was not a whole lot of update from May. You can see that we still have a net income year to date. We're going to go on to our June sales tax was $121,000. Our total revenue was $168,000. Our expenses, we only had about $51,000. There was not much in capital improvements that we're closing out Financial Way, and we're just waiting for some of the other projects to get started. Everything else is just office expenses and personnel. You can see that our sales tax was up this month to $121,000. It was kind of high compared to last month, which is a good, strong thing.
That was a timing issue, right?
It was a timing issue. We had one
Large
retailer that I'm not really sure exactly that I got the right explanation. I think that they skipped May and paid May and June in June. So, and then the equity statement, of course, has not changed. This is the same, and it will be. And you can see that we did spend a little bit more on Financial Way, about $17,000. I will say that I know that last month I had said that we were going to see a large jump in I think it's the contractual services, because we have spent money, or I have calculated actually the amount that we have spent on, let me find my paper, Blakey, because we have spent some on that, Agnes, downtown lighting, and intersection improvement study, and it's about $637,000. We actually did transfer that money last week, so you will see that in July. So, but with budgets preparation and all of that, it did not get done in June.
The monies that we're spending on the different projects, do we have that listed out on a summary form, how much money's been spent on exactly which project.
I have I have an Excel spreadsheet that has it all listed out.
Can you send that?
Yeah,
Send that
if
out?
we could
Of
see
course.
that, or maybe if we can include that on these next agenda
Sure.
items so that we can kind of have a little more relational understanding of the money that are spent on projects.
Sure. The downtown lighting and Blakey are the only two left that have money. We have spent all of Agnes, which was $123,000, and all of intersection improvements, $207,500. So Blakey and downtown lighting are the only two left. But I will absolutely send
Which
that.
intersections did we improve? How did we spend 200
It was
and
a
something thousand
I
dollars?
think it was a study.
It was 2 studies. I'd have to go back and look. I know they were
Oh, it was
95.
studies, it wasn't work?
No. Mm-mm. It was the Kimley Horn. Yeah.
I thought we did one study and it was supposed to be.
No, we'll bring back
Okay.
the information. Can you
Thank
go
you.
back to the slide right before that? Because this equity statement is going to change dependent on the Fiesta item later on in the agenda. That 233 number will change. So we'll bring you project list and intersection improvement.
I agree with Director Schrader here. I do remember having one study. I don't remember having 2 studies. So it would be nice to have a little update on that, because that is quite a bit of money. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. Okay, 4C, consideration and possible action on Resolution R 2024-0007, approving an amendment to the Economic Development Performance Agreement with Colson LLC, AKA Project Fiesta.
Thank you, Chair. Just so we recall, that is the project site. We discussed at length the modifications that are required to receive an extension, and primary is that the incentive agreement be reduced by 50%. They have a shovel in the ground by September, and they be complete within 18 months of shovel in the ground.
Have they been informed yet of
Yes.
what we decided on the last meeting? They have. And
Yes.
did they have any comments, good or bad comments on it?
No, they continue through the site review process where they will have a permit by September.
And they're continuing to make the
Yes.
progress as we had discussed?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay,
Do we have Exhibit A? Because it's not in the packet.
Oh, the First Amendment to the performance agreement should be Exhibit A.
Yeah, Allison doesn't redo the whole thing. She just, this is it.
Yeah, it should be in your
Oh,
packet.
okay.
Page 22.
Yeah, okay, so 21 is Exhibit A? And have they executed the contract, or, because a lot of times we do it where we're the final signature?
No.
okay, so the highlight, once again, sorry, I want to make sure I completely understand. They've got roughly 2 years to complete the project? There's
18 months.
18 months, there's an end date of 18 months, and they're getting half of the incentive back?
Yes.
Okay,
Permit by September 1.
okay, thank you. Okay, so I guess your recommendation is to go ahead and approve this resolution?
Yes.
All right. And then I will need a motion to approve Resolution 2024-0008.
7.
Or, sorry, say 7.
Motion to approve 2024-07.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Very good, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're moving on to 4E, consideration and possible action on contracting with Navis Consulting to...
Nope,
Did I?
40.
Man, my eyes, I'm sorry, I
That's okay.
apologize. Approval of Resolution 2024-0008, ratifying the purchase and sales agreement of 2.836 acres in the Bastrop Business and Industrial Park, legally described as Bastrop Business and Industrial Park Phase 1, Lot 2B, 2.836 acres. amended plat of Lot 2 at 408 Technology Drive to Patrick Redfirm or assigns.
This
So-
is the one that doesn't have Exhibit A.
Okay,
It's at your,
And that's what this is?
we didn't receive it until Sunday night.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
So this item is the L-shaped track. We've gone back and forth. We provided the appraisal. The sale of the property is $400,000. Yes, no performance agreement other than the restrictive covenants already subject to the park that require construction, et cetera, by certain day. The purchaser has no issue, feels he can meet that. We do have some environmental concerns that they'll get through due diligence. There was some fill that was brought into this property to mitigate some, I believe, potential soil contamination, and so they'll work through that through their due diligence process.
Are we giving them any timeframe to complete or start on their construction or the permitting or anything like that?
Per the park's restrictive covenants, I believe they have to start within 1 year.
When you say you got it on Sunday, does that mean you got it from legal on Sunday? So that they, has the buyer, has the purchaser seen this?
I sent it to him today.
So they haven't signed it, they may or
They
may
have
not
not
have
signed it. They're
reviewed
waiting for you to sign it or to approve it. It started off as being a simple ratification per Charlie, but because we need a resolution to go to closing, we had to bring it back a little bit more complicated than just a simple ratification. So we may have to tweak the language a little bit. Correct. Well, yeah.
Y'all approved this at the last one,
Give him, yeah. It's hiding.
Okay, so y'all approved this at the last meeting. Apparently, some minor issues came up, minor changes to the agreement, hasn't been signed yet. Concerned that the title company needs a resolution, so we put together a resolution. That's not a big deal. And so you're approving the agreement by approving the resolution. And then they will execute it if you approve it, which I don't have any issue with.
So we don't know if they have any issues, but we don't anticipate that they do.
We don't anticipate any issues.
Any questions regarding on this? John, you have any questions?
This will also change the equity statement.
Yes, oh, definitely will. All right, then looking for a motion for the
Motion to
approval.
approve Resolution 2024-08.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those not in favor? All right, the motion carries. Thank you. Now I'll get on to 4E. All right. Consideration and possible action on contracting with Navis Consulting to provide professional advisory services for a proposed sports complex to be located within the Bastrop Business and Industrial.
You want me to take it? Do you want to take it? So the executive committee has been having discussion with Catherine Caffrey, who is principal at Navis Consulting, principal and sole proprietor at Navis Consulting. Kat was a prior deputy city manager, actually, in Cedar Park, is working with the cities of San Marcos and Pflugerville in similar P3 projects. So we thought it would be important to bring her on board as an extension of staff as we get through this first feasibility period to even determine, one, is it a good site? Two, does it pencil? Three, all of the questions that we have before we kind of get out on the street and begin talking to potential partners in the industry.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, the committee on the sports complex has been meeting every 2 weeks and making some pretty good progress. This, Kat will be acting as a facilitator to help us create and find the companies that conduct the feasibility study We will be bringing them in to get interviews with them to make sure that their qualifications look, like they need to be to do the feasibility study. And it's to our benefit to really get a much better understanding via the feasibility study of what this is going to do for us. So, we may all have an idea of what we think it will do, but we need an outside firm that, really focuses in on this and gets the actual information where we can make more, better deformed, data-driven decisions. So I, for one, think it's a really good idea. And I wanted to make sure that the board had an understanding of what this was about instead of just us going ahead and having the interim director sign it, even though she could, because it's under 10,000. I said, no, I want to bring it up as a agenda item so you guys understand, and if you had any questions, you can ask.
Chair, I would just like to add, since I serve on that committee as well, that I would draw the board's attention to the fact that her goal is to have the qualifications and vet the firms by August 19th, so that at the August meeting, we can move forward with the feasibility study. And the alternative would have been to have spent months on putting the feasibility, and we're trying to make some progress. And so I know that she's essentially going to be an extension of staff. And I know, Sylvia, you were happy to have some expert help in that area, and allowing us to get going on the feasibility study in August, I think, is super important for making progress.
Her contacts alone, yeah.
With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, then motion carries. All right, well, I believe that is the end of our business this evening. So,
Motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry? I don't even know where I am. You're in the city of Bastrop and you're sitting.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes. All right, we're going to adjourn then. Thank you very much, everyone.